Rain tapped softly against the windows, but inside the school auditorium, it was anything but quiet. 200 students gathered for the opening assembly, buzzing with laughter, whispers, and the occasional shout. For most, it was a typical start to a school week. But for one girl sitting in the second row from the back, this day would mark the beginning of everything. Her name was Lena Amir, a transfer student. 17. She had moved from a small town 3 hours away after her father's job was relocated. With oversized glasses, books clutched tightly to her chest, and a soft, uncertain gaze, she didn't fit into the high-gloss world of Jefferson High. Not yet, at least. She walked differently, spoke with a slightly accented English, wore clothes a few years behind the current trends. But what no one knew, not the students whispering or the teachers scanning the crowd, was that Lena carried within her a quiet kind of fire. One that no one could see yet. The incident happened during the third week of school. It was supposed to be an ordinary lunch break. Lena had made it a habit to sit alone under the oak tree by the back wall, away from the cliques, the drama, and the eyes that always seemed to look through her. But on that day, something was different. The popular crowd, led by Brielle, the cheer captain, and Mason, the football quarterback, had found a new kind of entertainment. Brielle, known for her ruthless charm, had always gotten away with cruelty masked as jokes. Mason, towering and smug, thrived on attention. Together, they were untouchable. And Lena? She was the perfect target. She thinks she's too good for us, Brielle scoffed, watching Lena rant. Let's help her feel more welcome. Laughter erupted from their circle as they strutted across the courtyard. Mason snatched Lena's book from her lap mid-page. Hey! Lena stood, not in anger, but in confusion. You always reading like some nerd in a movie, he taunted, flipping the pages. What is this? Philosophy for losers? Brielle stepped in front of Lena, eyeing her from head to toe. You know what's funny, she said loudly so others around could hear. You walk around here like you belong. Like you're not just some charity case. Lena opened her mouth to respond, not with rage, but reason. But she didn't get the chance. The slap came out of nowhere. A sharp, humiliating sound that echoed off brick walls. Brielle's hand. Lena's face. 200 students stopped what they were doing. Laughter faded into shocked silence. A few gasped. Most just watched. Lena staggered slightly, her hand rising to her cheek. You gonna cry now? Brielle sneered, eyes full of superiority. Go ahead. That's what you people do, right? But Lena didn't cry. She didn't scream, or run, or shrink. Instead, she did something no one expected. She straightened her spine, met Brielle's eyes, and spoke, softly, steadily. Are you proud of that? Brielle blinked. That's your strength? Hurting someone who's never wronged you? Lena's voice didn't tremble. You need people to laugh to feel powerful. That's not power. That's fear hiding in designer shoes. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lena turned to Mason, still holding her book. Does it make you feel big? Tearing people down who aren't like you? Mason stared at her, speechless. You think I'm weak because I don't fight like you. But I've lived through more than you can imagine. I've buried a mother. I've watched my father cry himself to sleep working double shifts. I've stood in court to defend myself from a landlord trying to evict us. And I still show up here, every day, with kindness. That's strength. Her voice, still calm, echoed louder than any scream could have. You slapped me in front of 200 people to humiliate me. But today, you exposed yourself. And then she reached into her bag, took out another copy of the book Mason had tossed, and walked away, face red but unbowed. What happened next would shock the school. That clip of the slap and her response? It was recorded by a freshman named Danny. By nightfall, it was all over social media. #StandWithLena was trending the next morning. Comments flooded in. This girl is pure strength. She didn't just defend herself, she made us all rethink what power is. I wish I had her courage. Students who had never spoken to Lena started sitting with her at lunch. Teachers invited her to speak in class. The principal called her to her office, not to reprimand her, but to thank her. But perhaps the biggest shift came from within the students themselves. Brielle and Mason were suspended after an internal investigation. But more than punishment, what shook them most was that no one cheered for them anymore. They were met not with fear, but with indifference. Their power had dissolved. Weeks later, Lena stood at the podium of the school's Voices of Courage event. She looked out at the same auditorium where it all began. I don't want to be remembered as the girl who got slapped, she began, her voice steady. I want to be remembered as the girl who didn't let hate win. Because what we allow in silence becomes normal. And I hope today we all choose to speak, not with fists or insults, but with truth. Applause erupted. By the end of the year, Lena had become more than a student. She was a movement. She launched a peer support group, helped establish anti-bullying initiatives, and inspired hundreds to share their stories. The school changed. The culture shifted. People listened more. Judged less. All because one girl stood her ground after being slapped in front of 200 students, and used her voice instead of violence. And as for that freshman, Danny, who posted the video, she joined Lena's support group. Later, she wrote in the yearbook, "You showed me that strength isn't about how loud you are, it's about how true you stay to yourself. You changed everything,